Today, we take a look at three teams that are off to a disappointing start this season and what it'll take for them to get back on track, whether it's a full rebuild or just a tweak here and there. We'll break it all down for you. All that and more on today's Locked On NHL podcast.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Gil Martin here. Welcome, everybody, to the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On NHL your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Also, a shout out to everyone. Thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcasting network. We couldn't have done it without you. My pleasure right now to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Capitals, Dan Holmi. And Dan, a bit of a struggle for the Caps this year. The good news is they're at NHL 500. The bad news is that puts them at last place in the Metro. What has surprised you about the start to this season so far?
Well, I mean, it's the problem, right? That Chris Patrick, the GM from the Capitals, thought they could run it back with the same team. It's a bit interesting, isn't it, that there was only some minor subtractions. I'm talking Andrew Mangiapane and Taylor Radishin. You know, they played a small part of last year's success. So I think on paper, I understood the thought process of Chris Patrick. But what isn't working is that the players last year that put up career numbers are not doing that this year. And you have Alex Ovechkin, 5 goals so far. Last year, putting up 44 goals. That, you think to yourself, at some point, someone's got to flip the switch and it's going to kick in. My fear is, when is that going to happen? What's going to change? We've seen the biggest problem is on special teams, talking power play, that thing in particular, that they are kind of, I think, caught up in their own head at this point, that, they're playing some poor hockey. And I think that at some point when things start clicking, that I think that, it'll just be like, wow, remember that time we lost a bunch of games? Because Spencer Carberry, Jack Adams winner last year, he knows what he's doing. It's just the players buying into the system, and hopefully they catch fire here soon.
Do you think they're maybe squeezing their sticks a little too tightly on the power play because they're struggling to also score 5-on-5?
Absolutely. I think that's the case. And I think that, oftentimes when you struggle, to your point, you're saying all of a sudden you start gripping that stick tighter. You start thinking about it too much. And, you're starting to see some of the players, like Tom Wilson, putting up big goals, but even him and other players are struggling. And, the young additions, Ryan Leonard, for example, back-to-back 30-goal seasons for Boston College has got off to a bit of a slow start. That, I think that this team is still trying to find consistency. And I'm sure we'll talk about it a bit later, but, some big subtractions from this team as well. Pierre-Luc Dubois, is going to be out for 3 to 4 months. And trying to find chemistry within the lines has been difficult. You've seen Spencer Carberry try to patch it together throughout the games. But as of right now, you take a look at the last game against the Devils, it went to the shootout. They don't have that specialist like they did before with Kuznetsov or Oshie that, they definitely need to, address that situation, but also scoring, like you said, 5-on-5 and the power play.
You mentioned Alex Ovechkin. He's got 5 goals in 18 games, still getting shots on goal. Is he not getting as many good opportunities? Is he just not finishing? What's going on with Ovi?
I think it is. It's just not finishing. And I know that he is a bit snake bitten. And, we have seen his minutes reduced a little bit from what we've seen in years past. And, the thing of it is we've seen, some growth in that regard. But I think the biggest thing, maybe not right now, but to start the season was that he was injured, when camp first started. And I think that he was, taken back a little bit, 40 years old. which isn't too old to me or you, but in hockey terms, that's a bit up there, 21 seasons in the league, that I think it took a while for him to get going. And I think Alex Ovechkin, like a lot of the other players, that, when they're not getting the production that they're looking for, they can get caught up in their head. But, I think what we've seen from Ovi this year, I'm thinking in particular the last game, when he was setting up Connor McMichael on that goal, is that he's trying to diversify his game. He's not that one-trick pony that sets up at the left dot that's predictable, that he's trying to shake up the snow globe to make the netminder think. So the thing I like about Alex Ovechkin, of course, he's known for his goal scoring, but when he's not scoring goals, he's contributing in other ways, assists, and also the leadership that being the captain brings.
Got to talk about Logan Thompson. He's off to an outstanding start. What has been the difference in his game so far this season, and where would this team be without him?
The silver lining of the season, to be sure, is Logan Thompson. And the thing of it is when you take a look at it, you hear this in the interviews, and, kind of the theme of this segment is going to be head games, is that the Capitals play more confidently when Logan Thompson is in net. And I think the feeling is that if they cough up the puck, if there's a gaffe in the defense, that Logan Thompson's good. We made a mistake, but we got LT back there. And that's not to say anything disparagingly of Charlie Lindgren, but we have not seen the best version of Chucky. So to have a guy like Logan Thompson, a guy that doesn't want to get any love from Team Canada, but has been the saving grace of this team. But, for all the everydayers of Locked On Capitals, like I talked about, Logan Thompson can't do it all, right? He can't score the goals. He can't go out there and be a defender. He is between the pipes, and he does what he can do. So I think that Logan Thompson is taking the lead. I hope the rest of the team follows in that, because, even take a look at Thompson last year. Make no mistake about it, is what put the Capitals in the position, winning the Metro, winning the Eastern Conference, that there was some real question about did he get lucky last year? Right. And I think that it is reassuring to Logan Thompson. It's reassuring to the fans and the organization that he's still able to put up, a good performance in his second year. And hopefully, that when the Capitals do catch fire offensively, that he will still be dialed in.
What does this team need to do now to be better and get back into the race in the Metro Division?
So it's one of the things, and, all roads lead through the GM, and Chris Patrick did not make the big move last summer. There was talk about Nikolai Ehlers. There was Jack Roslovic, these kind of players. And ultimately the Capitals did not want to give up what was required, whether it was money, whether it was, trading an asset, a draft pick, etc. And they're in the position that they're in, and they were hoping, like I said earlier, that they could run it back with this same team. What do the Capitals need to do? They need to go out and make a big acquisition. I think that potentially, if there is some reluctancy, which I think there is, that they could try some options down in Hershey, especially in the center position, like I said, Pierre-Luc Dubois being out for 3 to 4 months, that maybe a guy like Alexei Protas's younger brother would be a good option. And if that doesn't work, then I would go outside of the organization and try to make a trade to see if there's something out there, because there are options out there at the center position that I've talked about, some of them more attainable than others. But I think that's what it's going to come down to. One of the names that I kind of circle back to is a guy like Ryan O'Reilly, replaces Dubois' two-way matchup and defensive minutes and stabilizes the lineup immediately. That's just one name off the top of my head that I think would be an intriguing name to plug that hole, because, I think that Spencer Carberry has done what he can do. He's tried to move, players in different positions and different line combos. And if that doesn't work, I'm not ready to give up on the 25-26 season, that he's going to have to go out and make that big acquisition, that big trade.
All right. Well, Dan, why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps, of course, on YouTube or wherever you find your podcasts.
All right, Dan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Hockey season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, Getting tickets can be a total headache between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in. It's the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. I love that what you see is what you pay. There are no hidden fees at checkout, and their zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section, Game Time picks your seats, and you save big. You could even find NHL tickets for under $25. So take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. Great to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, and can't be thrilled with this start to the season. What's going on? This team can't seem to find stability and consistency.
Yeah, no, it's not good, Gil, in any single way. All the areas that I thought the Blues were going to excel in, it has been the complete opposite. What I can say, though, is that we are getting closer to maybe securing a top 5 draft pick if things tread in the right direction. Well, wrong direction, but that's the one positive that I can find, but it's been really rough. Even to be a fan of this team right now, it's been tough.
Is there a mindset that this maybe they should tank the rest of the season? I mean, they're never going to say they're going to tank, but is there a mindset that, hey, we need to tear this down and build this back up?
That would be my mindset, and that's what I would do. The issue is, in order to tank, you have to say goodbye to a few faces that have been a part of the organization for quite a while. And you can't tank without the inevitable trading away Braden Shen, trading away even Jordan Binnington. And you have to think about the key players that you want to build around. Now, personally, I would build around Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou. However, knowing the Blues, they're going to end up making mistakes with how they tank. I mean, this offseason really should have showed the fans that this team was not set up for success. And as minor as this might sound, Gil, when they traded Zach Bolduc to the Canadiens and they acquired Logan Mailloux, I thought that was a bad trade to begin with. And while, yes, Bolduc, he's a third-line type of player, he hasn't put up that many points. That's not the reason why I'm so upset about this trade necessarily. It's the fact that you acquired a defenseman that's not NHL ready when you had an NHL ready forward. And again, the value of Logan Mailloux goes down. So even if you were to trade him, you wouldn't get much in return. With a Zach Bolduc, if you wanted to trade him in the future, you could have gotten a lot more out of him than just a Logan Mailloux. So my frustrations, it even can go with Fox, going away. And Nick Leddy, I'm fine with, by the way. Like, totally cool with that, putting him on waivers. But there's just so many frustrations with this team. So to answer your question, I would tank.
You mentioned Jordan Binnington. Defense and goaltending have been big problems for this team. Is this more on the defense? Is it more on Binnington? Is it a combination? And how do you fix it?
It's so easy to say it's just the goalie or it's just the defense. It's so easy to do that. The reality is it is a combination. And as much as I love Jordan Binnington and I defend him all the time, I was watching the Flyers game and it was so ugly. And Binnington wasn't making the saves that I usually see him making. And that's how it's been all season. So a part of me is like, hey, maybe something's going on with not even just Binnington, but Joel Hofer. But also the defense not playing well contributes to it. But I can't just blame the defense when at the end of the day, some of the goals that are let in are goals that would have been saved prior. So that's another concerning factor.
Now, Binnington has been streaky in the past. I mean, is this just a bad streak for him, or is there something more long-term to it?
That's a really good question. And I want to say that it's a streak. I really do. I think that if there is something long-term, then that's a real serious issue. And we're still under 20 games into the season. So I'm hoping that it is a streak. However, at the same time, again, if this continues on, then it's going to be a problem, especially with the Olympics coming up. I mean, right now, Binnington's projected to be the starting goalie for Team Canada. What's going to happen if he doesn't continue to play well? And I think there's so much at stake, even just besides the Blues, but just him as a goalie in his career. There's so much at stake that he needs to step it up.
Give me some good news for the St. Louis Blues, a player maybe who has exceeded expectations or just played really well for this team so far.
Jimmy Snuggerud. I mean, how can you not talk about Snuggy? Him and Dvorsky have been like my shining lights in the midst of all this darkness. I can't say enough good things about Snuggerud. I mean, he's such an elite player. He's only going to get better. And again, why is it that you have Snuggerud, who's a rookie, playing better than some of these veterans on the team? And that's the type of energy that this team needs. I think that the problem is, and I notice this a lot when teams kind of get into a dark path, and it's not even just the Blues, it's teams in general. They get too cautious when they play offensively. Instead of just taking those one-timers, they make too many passes. Snuggerud's not afraid to just take a one-timer. He is playing such good hockey right now, and he should be acknowledged for how well he is playing.
All right, you mentioned the possibility of some major trades coming down the pike. Who do you think they should be looking to deal, and what is the best time to make these moves?
Well, I think it's going to happen sooner than later from some of the sources out there that have been speculating. I think Braden Shen is a name. I would 100% look to trade him to a contending team. He does have 15 teams that he is, hey, I'm not going to you. So I think that you have to look at the teams that he does want to go to and see if you can get something out of it. Now, I would personally go for NHL ready players that are maybe a little bit more developed, but if not, draft picks. You can never go wrong with draft capital because you can always trade those draft picks to move up in the draft. So that's always a value. Plus, with Braden Shen being in his later part of his career, to say it nicely, and a couple years left on his contract, you're not going to get that much value from him. So you definitely want to look to see what you can get the most out of. And draft picks, again, you can never go wrong with that. Even if you get like a 6-rounder, you can always package that in a deal. So that's what I always tell people. Never be upset about a draft pick. And again, he does have 15 teams that he's willing to. So you got to just work. I don't know who they are, but you have to work with that. Another name is Jordan Binnington. Now, you can get a lot of value out of Binnington. But again, it depends on how people might view how he's playing in a sense. As you said, is this just a streak or is this how he's going to be? So again, I can't even tell you a team because right now I could think of a lot of hockey teams that need a good goalie, like a lot. But I guess we'll see what the best offer is. But for him, you definitely could get a solid defenseman from him.
And besides picks, what does this team need to add to improve?
Defense. You need a good second pair. You need a good third pair. You know what? You could even improve on the first pair because right now I love Colton Parayko, but I get so frustrated, Gil, when I talk about this because Philip Broberg, he's just not playing the way that I want him to play. Cam Fowler hasn't showed me much this season. Justin Folk, we all know how I feel about him. If you don't know how I feel about him, I don't like him. Then we go to the third pair, which is Tyler Tucker, Matthew Kessel, and then they have Hunter Skinner that they called up. Like, it's just such a mess defensively. You need like a star defenseman. And you're not going to be a successful team without having that because right now this team, it lacks defense. I would take anybody, honestly. And I know that sounds kind of sarcastic, but it's like the truth. I would take a fresh face rather than what we have in the system because Adam Juracek, he's still a couple years away from being ready. And I do project that he's going to be a really strong defensive player for the Blues. But until he's ready, you really need to get a new face in.
All right, Haley, it's going to be an interesting season in St. Louis, if not a difficult one. Yeah. So why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you on social media?
Yeah, so if you want to see me crash out after every single Blues game, make sure to go to Twitter at Locked On Blues. And of course, if you want to see my daily episodes on the St. Louis Blues, make sure to check out Locked On Blues here on YouTube.
All right, Haley, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. And hockey fans, you could use your knowledge of the NHL on FanDuel, so check out the latest odds for your favorite team. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. FanDuel.com, check it out today. It is my great pleasure to welcome back to the show the host of Locked On Predators, or should I say co-host of Locked On Predators, Ann Kimmel. And a win in 2 games in Sweden, at least one win now in their last 6 games. How important was it to at least get a split overseas?
I think the way that the Predators won is almost as important as the fact that they won. It really was a storybook win for the Predators. Of course, Philip Forsberg back in his home country. He ties the game up late. And then you get Steven Stamkos winning it in overtime. And Predators fans have been waiting to see the Steven Stamkos we thought we were getting when he joined the team in free agency. And so I think for Predators fans, the way that the Predators got that win, the way that they really dominated that first game was really reassuring. But then there was a second game.
And things did not go according to plan.
No, the second game was almost the inverse of the first game, where really Pittsburgh came out, they punched Nashville in the mouth. Nashville really couldn't recover. They went down by 3 goals early. And one of the things that we are seeing with this Predators team is that they are not able to put a lot of goals up on the board. So when you see this team go down 3-0, that is a huge hole. That feels like more than a 3-goal hole for a Nashville Predators team that is struggling for offense. And while they did play a little bit better in the second and third periods, they just never really got to their game. Pittsburgh really dominated and dictated that game. And so Nashville now is leaving Sweden with a much more bitter taste in their mouth. And I think a bit more of a reality check about what this team really is and what's going to happen moving forward.
Can this trip overseas, and now that they have a big break in between now and their next game, can that be a bonding thing for this team that could help them pull together a little bit?
Absolutely. And I think we saw that while they were over there. Of course, Adam Wilsby, one of the young defensemen, is a Stockholm native. So he was the cruise director, and he took the team out to dinners, and they had some different experiences with some of the youth hockey clubs in the area. And so I think for the Predators, it definitely was a bonding experience. It also was a chance for rest because the Predators have had such a tight, compacted schedule. They've only had 2 days off back-to-back once since their season began. And so they really came into the Global Series very, very tired. And I think not only was it nice for them to spend time together without the pressure of the next game and fix the mistakes, but also to experience something like Stockholm and to meet, Philip Forsberg's extended family, Adam Wilsby's extended family. So there definitely is an upside to being a part of something like the Global Series, but it's not going to fix everything that's broken in Nashville.
6-10-4 to start this season. Whose seat is getting hot right now? I mean, is it on the coach? Is it on Barry Trotz as general manager? Are there certain players who may be moved on from right now as this team continues to struggle?
I think that there are a number of people that need to feel a little bit uncomfortable. And I think, of course, when you talk about a team that is struggling, the easiest answer is a coaching change. And so I do think that Andrew Brunette his seat is a little more warm than most people most people thought he was probably going to be on a hot seat early. He really wasn't. Andrew Brunette was Barry Trotz's pick. Barry Trotz does not want to fire Andrew Brunette. And I think he is going to try to do whatever he can to keep Andrew Brunette around as long as possible. But I do think when you start the season like they did, when you had the season that they had last season, and it feels like it's just more of the same, at some point, you have to make changes. Now, a coaching change may not fix everything. This is a Predators roster that's really not built for a contention. So I do think that you are going to see Barry Trotz make some moves, probably a little closer to deadline, when the market is more favorable for the Predators to move on from some of the, upcoming UFAs, maybe some of the veterans that he signed that isn't working quite like he thought. So I think we're going to see definitely roster changes this season. At some point, we very well may see a coaching change too.
I've even heard rumors UC Saros may be on the trading block. What have you heard about that, and would it make sense?
This is such an interesting conversation. UC Saros, first of all, people have to know he has a no move clause. His contract just kicked in. It has a no move clause. So it's a non-starter if Saros isn't interested in going. So I think that that's a big factor. He also is a little over $7 million. And so teams that are looking for a goaltender to fix what they need fixed for the postseason, not a lot of them have the wiggle room. More importantly, not a lot of them have what Barry Trotz wants, which is going to be young, talented prospects or high quality draft picks in the upcoming drafts. And so the teams that we hear are kind of thinking about UC Saros may not have anything Barry Trotz really wants. And again, it all comes down to if UC Saros doesn't want to go, he's not going.
What will it take for this team to get, let's even just say, closer to 500, respectability? What do they need to do better?
It's no short list, Gil. Like, I'm going to unfurl the scroll and then I'm going to cut it way down for you. I do think that this is a team that is struggling to get and hold on to momentum. It's one step forward, two steps back. So there is some sort of a disconnect, whether that is the responsibility of the head coach, whether that is the combination of players in the locker room, but there is a disconnect from being able to continue to build on positive steps forward. They're really stuck in the same place. And I think to get unstuck, it's going to take some moves. It's going to take those roster changes. It may take a coaching change. I do think that they need more offense. But you would think when you look at the roster on paper, how is offense a problem? It's a problem. And what a lot of it comes down to is there's not a lot of center depth. You don't have those playmaking centers here for the Nashville Predators. And that's what you need. You need those playmaking centers. And so that's something that Nashville is going to be wanting, but probably they're going to have to draft and develop that.
What about Barry Trotz? Is his seat hot? I know it's been just a little more than a year, but, everything he's done seems to have backfired so far, or at least not worked out the way he wanted it. So what are you hearing about his situation?
The fan base is definitely questioning Barry Trotz right now because, like you said, in the time that he has been general manager, he's made some really exciting moves that have not panned out. He's also done things like put Dante Fabro on waivers, who was now picked up by Columbus. He's now a top pairing defenseman for Columbus. So there have been moves that people are like, hey, now wait a second. So I think that there may be a crisis of confidence among the fan base when it comes to Barry Trotz. The one thing that I will say for Trotz is that in the couple of drafts that he has kind of been the guy pulling the trigger, he has drafted well. But to see that come to fruition, you need several seasons. And it feels like the fan base wants from Barry Trotz a tear it down and a rebuild. And there's really not an easy way to do that with the way that the roster is constructed right now. So there is a lot of unrest, I would say, among the fan base about Barry Trotz. I just don't know. And this is the part that's so tricky. We have a new leadership group here, and you don't know how they're going to weigh in and what their perspective is yet. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on when it comes to Nashville, because something has to change. They just have to figure out what and how much.
And when. Yeah.
And when. Absolutely.
Yeah. And why don't you tell our viewers and our listeners where they could find the podcast and where they could find you and your co-host on social media?
You can find our podcast, Locked On Predators, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. We are also on YouTube. You can follow me on social media at what is it? And K. I got this. And K _ Mama on Ice. You can find my co-host, Emma Lingen, at Emma _ Lingen on social media as well. I got it.
You got it. All right, Ann, thank you so much.
Thanks, Gil.
Thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until the Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. You could find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank my guest, Dan Holmi of Locked On Capitals, Ann Kimmel of Locked On Predators, and Haley Taylor-Simon of Locked On Blues for joining me today. I'm Gil Martin. I host the Monday edition of the Locked On NHL podcast, and I co-host the Friday edition along with Rachel Donner. Don't forget, we are here every day, Monday through Saturday, bringing you the biggest stories from around the hockey world. So hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe, and thank you so much for watching and listening to the Locked On NHL podcast.